Let us focus instead on a more practical, more attainable peace.
Magical place. America.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma.
I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years.
Pull me by my waist. Like Legally Blonde.
Go to California and Texas.
Hello, no ho, okay.
And New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon.
Dark side.
Without the banana.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
Hello?
America, we have a problem. Welcome to America, We Have a Problem. Your one-stop shop to news, politics, current events, and information to help you become a more knowledgeable citizen, less confused, and less apathetic about America and the world around us that seems ever so chaotic. We are less than 24 hours away from Election Day. Isn't that right, Luke?
That is true. It's coming down to the wire.
Coming down to the wire. This is Super Bowl Tuesday, pretty much.
It's our Super Bowl.
It is our Super Bowl. I don't really understand football, but I do understand elections.
That's pretty important, I would say.
Yeah, but not a lot of people who are watching this really could care less about what we think about in terms of voting.
And football.
You know why? Because they really are going to look at my setup for voting, which will be 3 laptops, a TV,
right,
my phone, cords everywhere, a video.
You're set.
I'm set. I'm like the dog channels.
Oh yeah.
You know, like they do the dog shows.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like the judges in the back, like doing all the tallies.
And that's you.
Yeah, that's
right.
me. But for like.
You know what I really want?
Politician.
You know how like on the news channels they have the big TV and they like click the state and the county.
Oh yeah.
I want one of those.
You know why?
Why?
I mean, there actually is one.
Is there really?
It's the magic wall from CNN. You can download the CNN app, and it's literally the magic wall that John King uses.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna broadcast it on my TV.
You really should. Like I was clicking through it last night. You can see 2020, 2022, then 2024, and then 2016.
That's so exciting. Oh, I'm gonna have to use that.
I think 2018 as well. Okay. So this episode is about the election, the coming up election in less than 24 hours away. So please go and vote. We'll explain how you can, and make sure to check out our Instagram, and we'll be making sure to give you all the information you need, as well as our public thoughts. And, sorry, I'm exhausted.
It's okay. This election is come down to 2 main primary candidates.
Yes, and minor candidates as well.
Like the health nut wannabe cabinet member.
Yeah, the guy who ran over a bear, and then he put it in Central Park, and then he was like, "I'm funny."
I mean, that's pretty funny. It's kind of like how the Bears were killed yesterday.
Where?
Against the Cardinals.
Oh, the
yeah.
Cardinals, isn't that a baseball team?
It's both.
Oh, so they play both? Like they do football in one day and then baseball the other day?
But one's in Missouri, and then they play football in the swing state of Arizona with 11 electoral votes.
What if Missouri is a swing state?
It could be.
It could be. It's probably not.
It's probably not.
It's probably not.
No, definitely not.
So, Luke and I support 2 different candidates in this race, and I've been getting a lot of comments and being like, how can you be friends while supporting these 2 very different candidates? The thing is there's a lot we agree on, but there's a lot we can disagree on. You can start off and explain why you support your preferred candidate, and then I'll go.
Yeah.
And we'll explain that for people who are undecided, people who do not understand our friendship, people who have different views, and how we can talk about policy and politics and current events in its entirety. So, who do you want to vote for? Who will you vote for tomorrow, November 5th, and why do you support them?
Yes, tomorrow is the big day, and I plan on voting for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And, Here's just a brief explanation why. We'll dig into it a little bit later.
Yes.
I do feel that his policies will help strengthen the border, strengthen our foreign policy, and avoid any more possible conflicts. I also believe, and we both believe this, in cutting taxes for middle-class families and overall. And I feel that he's the strongest candidate to keep our country safer overall, foreign and domestic. So, Carson, tell me, who are you voting for?
That is a great question. You know, it's a little controversial, but I am, just wait for it, I'm voting for Brett Peterson.
Of course, yeah. Who else?
Yeah, I just think that he's going to be a great president.
Yeah.
And a president for all Americans.
Absolutely.
He's going to win an absolute landslide.
Dominant.
And you recently showed me a poll
Right.
on Twitter and TikTok, really informational and factually correct websites, you know, that Brent Peterson will win over 60% of the popular vote, which is absolutely amazing.
It's insane.
It is insane. And in fact, I voted for him yesterday, and tomorrow I'm voting for another candidate named Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
The reason why is I do think that she is the lesser of two evils between Brent Peterson and herself.
Absolutely.
And I definitely think that Brent Peterson could do a lot of great stuff, but this. I think Kamala Harris is the more moral individual, the more strong, capable, youthful, vigorous leadership we need in the White House. You know, Hamilton always talked about the energetic executive. When I see Donald Trump, who is also running, I do not see energetic executive. And of course, he has great enthusiasm, like going after his political opponents, like making sure that we deport a lot of immigrants, which would decrease the economy's growth by a tenfold. But there's a lot. There's a reason why I support Kamala Harris, and that's that. But I also support Kamala Harris in terms of just being a real leader for our children. We do not want to explain a individual who has 34 felony counts to our kids. We don't want to explain someone who has been indicted on sexual assault charges. We don't want to explain a guy who was found possibly impeached 2 times and found possibly guilty of inciting an insurrection. So there's a lot of that. But there's also a lot of economic issues that I'm concerned with as well. We have a very low and non-effective safety net that I think is making a lot of people feel that the American dream is dead. And there's a lot of talk about the American dream and how Trump's going to fix the American dream, but I do not think so. Even Elon Musk said that Donald Trump's policies are going to wreck the economy in the first few months or so, and then it'll even out because you got to do what you got to do to make America great again. But the thing is, you can't do that. You can't make people feel even worse in their economic situations just for them to, quote unquote, get better. And he's also taxing a lot of the sales that are coming in, importing, which are called tariffs, which are absolutely astronomical numbers in the hundreds of percents, which they may be unserious, but the implications are really there. So they're going to increase taxes on Americans, and it's going to benefit the ultra wealthy. And we should be benefiting the middle class, and I believe in middle class tax cuts, and Kamala Harris does as well. So I do think there's 2 different visions in economic principles. And as an economics major, I do think Kamala Harris is going to increase growth for the economy, increase the ability for our kids and for us to have access to capital, like making the true American dream a reality. So that's why I believe she will be the best president and the best leader, is both because of democracy, because of integrity, and because of the economy. Is big reasons why I support her. And even Republicans are supporting her. And the most conservative Republicans like Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney are supporting her, as well as the most progressive left-wing Democrats like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. So yeah, that's why I support her as president. I fingers crossed, and I do believe, I hope and pray that the American people make the best choice that they deem is the best choice. Any thoughts, Luke?
I would say the biggest question is, do you think a lot of people are voting in this election?
Mhm.
Is it more against Trump or more pro the Harris Walz ticket, or do you think it's a little bit of both?
It's definitely a little bit of both.
A little
I
bit of
actually
both.
think that it's more so they're pro-Harris and they were pro-Biden.
Okay.
She does provide a new generation of leadership that is very intriguing to a multitude of different people. You know, Donald Trump has been in politics for over 8 years, almost 9 years, and I think that's just a powerful thing of this new, fresh figure, this mode of change, and I think a lot of people are looking at that, and they may not agree with her on multiple things, but she is a consensus builder, and I think people are really looking for that. However, there's definitely some people who just really despise Trump, and
Yeah.
they want the Republican Party, specifically the MAGA Republican Party,
Right.
the Trumpian Republican Party, to die with Donald Trump's platform. Not himself, but the platform itself. And I think that's why many Republicans support Ms. Harris.
And then one more question as
Yeah.
I kind of gauge, it's
Mhm.
important to hear from everybody.
Yes.
What would be your message personally to those, like, I know for me, I feel this way with a lot of things,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people do, that they have a hard time feeling that she's going to be different from a Biden presidency if they didn't necessarily agree with the policies. Obviously, she's a new candidate. She was the vice president. But what would your message be to those people that are genuinely worried that it's just going to be the same old that we've had for the past 4 years?
It's a three-pronged thing, in my belief. A, the vice president is not the president. B, she has been a Washington outsider compared to Biden. And C, she's youthful and has a different approach to politics. So A, being she was not, like, she's the vice president but not the president, you know? So she could have done a lot of things, of course, as president. The border, what be it, taxes, inflation, this, that. But a lot of it is not just the president. The president can't control gas prices. The president can't control inflation itself. And there's a lot of mechanisms that controls inflation and gas prices and stuff like that. So there's that component to it, and how she's not going to be Biden because people have this misconception about what the presidency is. So also she could not override what President Biden said, whatever it may be. Second, she is different than Biden because she was a Washington outsider. She's one of the most politically qualified individuals to seek the office in quite some time. In terms of just being outside of Washington, but also inside Washington. You have her as the assistant district attorney, the district attorney in general, I think, but also just the California state attorney. She always talks about that. She is a daughter of immigrants. She comes from the middle class. That's her background. She has a strong, different background than Joe Biden's. She's 60 years old, which is like 25 years younger than Joe Biden himself and Donald Trump. And I think which brings me to my third belief on why she would be different than Joe Biden, is because she's youthful. But she also has a different approach than Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been in politics for decades. Like, politics right before, like 2 years before my dad was born.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about that. That's absolutely crazy. While Kamala Harris did not start politics until 2012, 2010. Like, she's quite new, and I think that her approach to politics and this consensus building, she's traveling all around the world and all around the country and looking and be like, I may disagree with you on some foundations, but there are problems, and I think people are too in the Biden camp, or 2 in like the Bernie camp, or 2 in the Trump camp, the 2 in the Nikki Haley camp, and all of these different factions and the group, their problems, and there needs to be solutions. And I think Kamala Harris will be that individual, and I do not think that's why Joe Biden is in the race anymore, because he is older, his approach to politics is not what is needed in the modern day, and he's not a fresh face that people want to see, especially coming out of the Trumpian era. So yeah, that's that. It's a little long to explain,
But I mean, I just asked that question because I do think
No,
it's
yeah.
important, as a Republican myself,
Yeah.
that's always something that I've struggled with throughout this campaign was, you know, um, getting that difference, So I do think it is important for people to hear, what does make her
Yeah.
different.
she's not at
But
all
yeah, so
Biden.
yeah.
I'll ask a question for you.
Yeah.
Why do you think Donald Trump is better in terms of different things than Kamala Harris? Just explain what you think his strong suits are.
Yeah. I think he was proven to be a strong leader abroad, but I also believe deep down that they blame a lot on Donald Trump being, in office for only 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Within the past however many years, he's only been in office for 4 of those years.
Yeah.
And he can't wreck a whole country in just those 4 years. All these policies that they're putting on him. That's one thing. I have a hard time when people say, "Oh, he's a politician now." Yeah, he is, but like he hasn't been there in a while. I also truly believe, you look at the numbers, a lot was down. A lot has grown within the past 4 years. Homes have gone up like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Homes were half the cost 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Credit that to whatever you will. I want to see a change with that,
Mhm.
and I want to see a new party, new leadership. And if it doesn't work out, I'll say it. But it is true. Costs were down. Costs were low.
Mm-hmm.
I also truly believe in energy independence. We were the closest to energy independence we had ever been in those 4 years under Trump. And I guess I'm not as, I guess you could say,
Anthropocentric.
what's that?
Anthropocentric.
Yeah. So like I did agree with the Keystone Pipeline and stuff, So
like you you believe in a balance between the environment and energy independence, quote unquote,
Yes.
oil, gas. That's what.
Yes.
Anthropocentric means like oil, gas above health and safety of Americans and property rights.
Yeah, I truly do believe that. And when we are importing those gases, to me, this is how I kind of break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Where we talk about being worried about the environment, so we'll stop it here, but we'll get it from somewhere else. So the drilling and stuff is still going to be on that other shoreline. You know what I'm saying?
But what do you say to the facts that say that we have actually increased oil production under Joe Biden than under President Donald Trump?
I don't know that number. I would have to see it, but
Should I pull it up?
yeah, pull it up. I want to see it.
Yeah. So
The thing is, I just there's some fundamental things that I attribute to that with overall energy independence in the Keystone Pipeline.
And I do say from NPR on July 13, 2021, drilling on federal land increases despite Biden's campaign promise. New permits for companies to extract oil and gas from U.S. public lands are on pace to hit their highest levels since George W. Bush was in office.
So it does say, though, that one of his promises was to stop the drilling. So that's one of the things that I've always had an issue with, was kind of that inconsistency. You're going to say something and then you're not going to try. I believe it's good that we shouldn't be cracking down on
What
drilling.
about the great healthcare promise that was supposed to be instituted under Trump?
That's one of the things that I never believed was going to happen.
Exactly.
That because I know more than the average American.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, but it was a campaign promise. There's a
Yeah.
campaign promise for Joe Biden, but he didn't do it. So you have to look at it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look at it,
But here's another thing that I'll put in perspective for you. Not saying you're wrong. I totally understand where you're coming from, because of course I think the same things, just on a different way. There's a saying called 4 years in the rear. The fact is, we are living under Donald Trump's economic policy, tax policy. Before Donald Trump, during Donald Trump, we were under Obama's policy. And if Trump is reelected, it will be under Joe Biden's policy. So this is the thing that people do not understand, is a lot of the things, including there was a tax reform that actually increased taxes on the middle class, which was the SALT reform, where they cut the cap or whatever it is on SALT, which is state and local tax deduction. So a lot of people, including middle class families, could not write off the state and local taxes that they pay. So this is why I do think that Donald Trump is doing a lot of this big talk. But the thing is, his economic policies are right now implemented, and a lot of people think that, costs are going to go down. But in reality, there's so much to it, it's not Joe Biden's fault. Of course, the spending was astronomical, but it was needed. And in fact, we are the highest economic powerhouse after post-COVID than other industrial nations. We actually are at the lowest inflation rate in quite some time than we were in the past, but also the lowest inflation. We saw the lowest inflation rate compared to other industrialized nations, including like the UK and stuff. So that's my point of view on that, from sources and stuff like that. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot, and there are definitely a lot of truths to that. That 4 years, and I'm not big. You obviously know more on the economic side than I do, and that doesn't surprise me to a sense, because we have seen that in years past. So that is definitely one spot where I would agree on you with looking 4 years in the past. But also, I guess I just can't wrap my brain around how you can say it's all of Trump's policies, but does it really take that long to implement? You know what I'm saying? Like I guess that's a good question for the viewers too. Like, break down how that really does happen, because in my mind, I'm saying, well, sure, we can say, oh, it's Trump's policies that were enacted, and Biden's policies will catch up within the next 4 years, because there is the Trump tax cuts will expire, and the next president is going to decide whether that continues or not. So that is one thing. But I guess that's something that I've never fully been able to understand, is that whole 4 years thing, because that's what Obama's been campaigning for Kamala on this year. Is it was my policies under Trump.
Well, he did. He actually, there was a pandemic plan that Trump threw out, that Obama gave him. So there's a lot of those type of things that I just see as not leadership. I think that he was in it for his own personal gain. Of course, he has great ideas in terms of like the goals. We all have the same goals in mind. We want to make sure that there is a comprehensive immigration system, a safe immigration system, that there is low inflation, there's this and that. But the thing is I still will never forget this thing. He promised that they would grow 1 million trees in order to combat climate change. That never happened. He said it during a State of the Union address. So the thing is, Biden and Trump both did not follow through on their promises. Both had economic policy failures. Both had domestic policy failures. Both had international policy failures. Like, they're pretty similar in terms of their level of failures and level of wins, I must admit. But yeah, I still support Kamala Harris because she's the better candidate in terms of going in the future for democracy's sake, but also for the economic argument's sake. And I think a lot of people on the Republican side are so caught up in, they live in this, it's Biden's economy, and the economy's not great, not good, but in reality, the stock market's the highest it's ever been. Donald Trump talked about the stock market all the freaking time. He tweeted that all the time. But in reality, it's higher than his 4 years.
So what? I guess since you're the economic guy,
Yeah.
a question that and I'm sure some viewers would have,
Mhm.
when it comes to costs of houses and
Yeah.
homes, what would have driven that up within the last 4 years? What is that, a Trump policy that you
No,
would think it
no.
is? What would be driving that up? Is it other corporations
Here's
buying
the
the
thing.
houses?
It's so much, but it's been a consistent issue. Yes, immigration is one thing. There's no doubt about that. But the thing is, you can't scapegoat immigrants and say that, like, oh yeah, it's because of immigration. That's why housing are so up. It's also because of corporations. And a lot of people corporations are buying up property and then they're price gouging them up because they know it's a necessity. So there's that. And then there is just, in terms of just stockbrokers and all that, it's just so much in terms of increasing the housing. But it's also because the majority of the issue is the lack of supply. It is not at all a Biden failure or a Trump failure. It is a decades, a century worth of failures on terms of housing. But the thing is, Donald Trump cut a lot of programs that could have helped alleviate the problems. And this is what I believe Kamala Harris would be the better candidate, because she wants to put forth new policies to make sure that we attack the immigration issue, we attack the housing cost issue in terms of, for us and our generation, the corporations and the price gouging and stuff like that. But then you have Donald Trump, on the other hand, who just wants to build houses on public land like Yellowstone National Park. What does that entail, you know? And I think that there is just a lot of inconsistencies in terms of his housing policy, which I am a little conflicted on. But in terms of the costs, it's really not Trump's fault at all.
Yeah.
Of course, it could be remnants of both Trump and Biden. I don't have the facts there, but the truth is, it's been an issue, a history-long issue. I mean, they talked about housing after the New Deal in the 40s. They talked about housing in the 60s. They talked about housing in the 80s. They talked about housing in the early 2000s. And they're talking about housing now. Every 20 years is a big housing debate. But the thing is right now, there's no consensus. And that's why I think Kamala Harris is the better candidate, because she wants to build consensus, not antagonize other people. So that's that.
And I do think, just to point to, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, it is traditionally the Republican mindset and the Republican way to eliminate more federal programs and spending in that way. So you know, whether it was a good decision or not, whether it would benefit,
but
that has been the Republican
thing
line.
That the Democrats are not using. They're wanting to cut red tape. Like different bureaucratic things that limits to being able to build housing here or there, or who can build houses, how much houses, what types of housing, stuff like that. And there's so much, and I think, as coming from an economics mindset, that is a great way to talk about it in a simple manner, because red tape, of course, is an issue. There's too much red tape, but there's also can be too little. And Donald Trump cut a lot of red tape and a lot of necessary red tape. And I do think that we have seen repercussions because of that. Good discussion with my friend Luke.
And guess what?
Yes.
We're still friends.
We're still friends. We literally talked about policy.
Policy. I learned some things.
And I learned some things.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I'm just kidding.
What did I learn? What did I learn? I learned that.
You see, no, it's nothing.
No, I learned that the fact is Donald Trump is not this terrible, like, president in terms of policy. Of course, I have disagreements on his temper and his character, but I understand that. Yeah, there's some good things and some bad things.
Yeah,
as there
and
is.
I agree with you on that. Like, there's some good things and some bad things on your side.
About John F. Kennedy's presidency. Good things and bad things about New Deal, and all that.
And ultimately, I do truly believe, I don't know if this is a hot take or not,
but
I do believe whoever wins the election, like, I truly believe at my core that we're going to be okay. I don't know if...
Of course.
Like, I hear it from my side about, your candidate, and I hear it from your side about my candidate. But truthfully,
Relax. It's fine.
it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. It sucks whoever wins or whoever loses.
Yeah.
It truly will be demoralizing. However, you got to have faith in the American system. But the thing is we're going to talk about this. I really do not appreciate that people are attacking voting in its entirety, and the ballot burnings in Oregon and Washington and stuff like that. So that's what I have concerns on, not policy and all that.
Right.
Of course, I have disagreements on some policy, and I do have concerns about a Trump presidency in terms of climate and in terms of economic and social welfare and stuff like that. Anyways, so we just finished Halloween. Halloween was October 31st. What did you do for Halloween, Luke?
What did I worked on Halloween.
Really?
Yeah, I was working.
Yeah.
Handing out candy from a laser tag store. So I had a busy Halloween. And what did you do?
What was your favorite moment while passing out candy?
Probably stealing the candy myself.
Yeah. Have you been eating a lot of candy?
I have. Can you tell?
No, I have been eating a lot of candy.
Oh my
God. I've gained like 5 pounds.
What my favorite right now has been Kit Kats and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yep.
It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Whoever invented a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yes, it's amazing. I know because I have been having Kit Kats and Reese's peanut butter cups.
It's horrible, but I can't help it.
It's crazy. They just came out with like 5 ingredient. There's pretzels, nuts, and stuff in this Reese's peanut. So it was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah.
What was your favorite moment of Halloween?
My favorite moment. Well, I actually did nothing. Except donate blood.
Good for you.
I did my Power Red donation, which
you're donating. That's good.
They put your normal take your blood, but then they hydrate you with saline, and then they take another round of blood, and that's for people who have emergencies and cancer patients.
Wow.
So not a lot of people do Power Red donations, so I wanted to do that.
Good for you.
But you have to do it every 4 months. You don't have to do it every 4 months, but that's the time frame.
Was this your first one?
No, it's my second one.
Okay.
I did it last year.
How long do you have to do it?
It's about an hour.
Okay.
In and out. 30 minutes on the bed.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what I did. I did nothing, and then I went home and slept.
Yeah. There's not a lot of kids out trick or treating anymore.
No, it's COVID destroyed it.
And you know what else I thought of too? There's a lot of businesses in cities doing their own trick or treating.
It's the trunk or treaters.
The trunk or treaters, the city of Oswego, Yorkville, and they all do it at different times. So by the time Halloween comes around, it doesn't matter.
I want to go back to the tradition of children dressing up and going to each and every house until midnight.
And that is something both candidates are committed to doing that for this.
But I actually disagree. I think the only candidate that is in this race for that reason is Brent. Brent Anderson.
Brent Peterson.
Yeah.
Brent Peterson.
Brent Peterson.
He's gonna bring back. Make Halloween great again.
Make Halloween great again.
Thank you. Good night.
You. That's the podcast. Okay. But yeah, so Donald Trump, I must admit, his greatest costumes came out the past few days.
Yes, they did.
There was this great one. It's not a lot of people's on the radar.
Yeah.
But it's this black and gold hat, and he was wearing it, and I was like, oh my gosh, where's his face? And it's just fully dark, and it looks like he's Darth Vader. And I was like, he's trying to copy Darth Brandon.
Yeah.
Well,
and surprisingly to other people, you know how you get texts from your campaigns that you follow?
Oh my gosh.
So,
that should be another segment.
We all know Harris Walls texts you like crazy.
Yeah.
Trump Vance texts me like crazy, back off, you already got my vote.
Yeah.
But, he sends me a lot. He sent me this interesting text. He said, hey, Luke, you're not going to want to miss this.
What is it?
He said, click the link. So I said, I'm not going to want to miss it. So I clicked the link.
Yeah.
It is the new black and gold hat that I can purchase.
Really?
And it wasn't even a purchase. It was a donation.
Wow.
Yeah. And did I get it? No. Because I'm not donating half my paycheck. Well, he's got to raise that money because Kamala's been raising
$1 billion.
Yeah.
$1 billion. It's absolutely crazy.
I mean, you gotta make bank. Somehow.
Yeah. So Donald Trump with his black and gold hat ate.
New look.
It
did eat. And then he wore the black overcoat, which
yeah,
I want a black overcoat.
I disagree with him on a variety of issues, and I think he would destroy American democracy. But
But as long as we have the black and gold hats,
But as
is that what
long
you're
as we
saying?
have the black and gold hat, we're
Yeah,
fine.
I think.
He's too old to destroy democracy. But his
Yeah.
supporters,
And can
not
I just say? Can I say one policy thing real quick?
yeah.
Okay, so in the 2016 election,
Mhm.
I truly believe he'll never say it, but it's true. Him and his campaign were thrown off guard that he won that thing.
Oh yeah.
So
no, I
he did not have any time to like actually find like like a transition team, somebody that was gonna get like good qualified people in the cabinet. Like he had no time to do that.
No.
I think if he wins, it'll be a much better transition team and a cabinet. He'll have
the
better
thing
people to
is
pick.
there's not going to be a diverse realm of opinion.
That's the one downside that I've always said about him. But I like
while Kamala Harris wants to put a Republican in the White House and have a concrete team of both Republicans and Democrats on each policy, and like discuss on normal
like our podcast.
like our podcast
Yeah.
on a normal day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's that.
Sorry, I had to break into policy real quick.
It's okay. But there's also another costume. What costume is that, Luke?
It is my personal favorite,
Yeah,
actually, of the two.
It was really good.
It's Trump the Garbage Man.
Trump the Garbage Man. You know, screw Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
Screw your local garbage man. Screw Handy Manny.
Trump is coming out to take
He
the trash.
is Trump the Garbage Man.
And for those of you who don't know how this started, he was responding to a comment made by the president. Whether
we have to go back
comment...
way back though.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, we do have to go back.
I'll start with that, and then you can go to Biden.
Yeah.
So there was a rally at Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden is famous and infamous for quite some reasons. You can research that. I won't go into detail because it's very controversial. However, Madison Square Garden is in New York City. It's a place where there's rallies and stuff, and he was there, and it was big. There was Dr. Phil, there was Elon Musk, there was Tucker Carlson as well. Then there was a man named Tony Hinchcliffe. No one who knows
I've never heard
who
of
the
him
heck
before.
that comedian is. You know what's funny? Alexandria
Never.
Ocasio-Cortez knew him.
Really?
Like I was watching a clip, and she was like, "I feel really upset because I wasn't expecting him to say that." And I was like, "How do you know who he is?"
That's like worse than B-list comedian. Like I've never. Heard of
No, it's like D-list. It's
like
D-list celebrities.
Jeez.
But he goes and talks about how Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage. Roll the clip.
Going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
So, it goes to your part with Joe Biden, because after this, a lot of Latino Americans and a lot of Americans and undecided Americans were really thrown off about this, because why would Trump allow this? And Trump was like, no, I didn't allow this and all that.
Yeah.
But I don't really buy that. But that's my own opinion.
Yeah, that is your own opinion. But, and I'll get your opinion on what the controversy with this side too.
No.
Well, what you think about it.
I just,
So then, Biden did an interview. Was it a Zoom? It was like a Zoom type thing.
Yeah, it was a Zoom. It was like high angle.
It was high angle.
Roll the clip. Roll the clip.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And like I was just like, whoa, he's really leaving office because it was like
it's the funniest thing. I love the man.
Funny.
I love the man.
Like
you can disagree on him, but you gotta admit, like the man is like a fucking creature of.
Just let him eat
God.
his ice cream from the Oval.
He is an ice cream god.
Let him press the ice cream button.
He is the god of old men.
But anyways, so he said, the only garbage I see is their supporters or whatever. So Trump then decided the very next day to rent out. He didn't rent it. He got a garbage truck.
Knowing him, he bought it.
He bought probably a garbage truck in his rally at Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And he didn't just buy a garbage truck and like have it there.
Was decked out in Trump Vance.
And he
wore the garbage vest. So he gets in the garbage truck, answers a few questions from the press, and drives off. But I did see Secret Service was like pissing their pants. They were ticked that he was getting driven with a garbage truck. They were like, stop.
Oh
Like, that's a
gosh.
you don't want to. No candidate.
Well,
should
he was
be doing
already
that.
tried to get assassinated 2 times.
Yeah, so it's like they were like, no.
Yeah.
And then he showed up to the rally in the garbage man's vest.
And it was hilarious.
It was funny. Like, okay, whether you think Trump's rhetoric is good, bad, whether you hate him or not,
like, take out the fact
everything.
that Trump exists. If someone wore that, that's hilarious.
That's funny. Like, he is the king of trolling, whether you like...
It's a great trolling tactic.
It's a great trolling tactic.
It's Trump.
It doesn't,
It's like Trump card. It's literally... Like,
it's a Trump card.
It's literally this new definition of Trump carding.
And honestly, that is what... This is a little sad, but that is what's going to get a lot of supporters rallied up, because that is one thing that Trump knows how to do very well.
100%.
Whether he's... I don't think he's great at, swinging independence and stuff.
God,
but rallying his base is something that he can do very well.
Yeah.
And this is a key moment of that. And whether you're on the left, right, center, it's hilarious. Purple.
Green, yellow.
Indigo, and violet too.
It's really funny.
It was funny.
It's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. And and here's some more highlights with Madison Square Garden.
Famous arena yesterday.
So who was there? Huck Hogan, Dana White, and Elon Musk all sharing their support for Trump before the packed Madison Square Garden crowd got a surprise appearance from former First Lady Melania Trump.
Envision a wonderful America where the seeds of security, prosperity, and health are sown once again for benefit of our families.
What are your thoughts on the Madison Square Garden ordeal?
So obviously, I think that comedian was horribly out of line, and I don't know why the campaign would allow somebody like that. Because that's bad optics.
They vet.
Yeah.
Like, they don't vet. I just think that they hold this intuition that Trump is always right. But the thing is you can't always make a good effort and say, oh yeah, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna say this and it's not gonna be rude and derogatory.
Like a week after, here's another thing too.
Yeah.
I do know that at one point they had looked over his script and was like, oh, you got to take this joke out. So did they see that joke and let it slide? That's the one part where it's like, did they let that joke slide? Because there was another joke that I guess they told them to take out.
The thing is, it went downhill.
Yeah.
And then Tucker Carlson was talking about spanking a girl, which that girl was referring to Kamala Harris. Did you hear about that?
I did, yeah.
And then Hulk Hogan was out there trying to appeal to this manosphere of men, meaning oh yeah, vote for Donald Trump because you're a man. Like that type of thing. I don't know what his goal is with all these people. But you also had Elon Musk. Did you hear about Elon Musk was a legal immigrant for a time?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure.
Which is hilarious and very hypocritical. But that's funny. Whatever. Donald Trump can have his opinions on
is he legal now, though?
Who knows?
If he's legal now,
who knows?
It's not
but still,
But I do think so obviously I think that's horrible optics. You can't even risk something like that close to an election.
Close. And
that's
period.
No matter what kind of race you're running, that's a very, especially with a candidate like Trump who's already very controversial in that light with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So you already know you're going to get his base.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my only issue. The biggest issue is you already have the base going out to vote.
He's been trying to appeal the base, but he's also been going off script, which kind of goes into our next segment, the closing argument segment. For a lot of you undecided voters still out there, here's some closing arguments.
Obviously, I've been watching a lot of rallies from Kamala to. I almost said Luke Lockwood. Oh my gosh, I wish.
No.
From Donald Trump.
Brent Anderson.
And Brent Peterson.
Peterson? Yeah.
Peterson.
Brent Peterson. Yeah.
But I've been watching a lot of rallies and listening to closing comments. Trump's biggest thing, talk a lot about going off script and stuff. Yes, he does do that a lot, and there have been many moments where I'm like, just stay on, because I need you to get the vote, like
Oh,
don't rally on.
well,
However, that is how he's been giving speeches for the past
oh
however
yeah,
many.
I think he gets in this moment of like his rallies are just
Yeah.
really heated in the moment, and he's a showman.
Well, he knows he's gonna get the applause because everybody there is a supporter.
But
so
the thing is
he's gonna try and rally it.
This is why people think that he's in cognitive decline, because he's just not being smart and tactful
I
with
think
how he gets votes.
I think Trump himself is just not smart and tactful.
No.
And I will say, and his last policy wise and election wise,
yes.
his closing argument has been. I've seen many ads. His biggest thing has been, Kamala broke it. Trump will fix
And I
it.
think
So
it's coming from just an ad perspective. I think that's a
yeah,
great
and
way.
if you are frustrated, that's what I've said on a political side.
Yeah.
You do, to get the voters, you do need to pin her as close to Biden as possible. Whether that's true or not, from a political side,
Well, yeah,
that's what you have to do.
strategic
Strategic wise.
yes.
So that's kind of been his closing message.
And I mean,
Kamala
looking
broke it, Trump will
looking
fix it.
from Kamala Harris's perspective, they're trying to tie him to the radical and the January 6th, the election interference type thing. So they're trying to radicalize both candidates, whether you disagree with that or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of weirdness in terms of it, and I hope, if I was a Republican, I would really hope that he would start talking about inflation, talking about immigration. If not to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
If he was on script about the economy, it's the economy, stupid. That is a saying from my favorite political strategist, James Carville, and that's my approach. When I'm running for office, I will be talking about the economy a lot and trying to appeal to voters, because it is the economy, stupid.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
That's what people care about.
And people, because it makes or breaks your full entire life, whether it should or not.
And that's the biggest federal thing that could impact.
Well, yeah,
you a
because
little bit.
you have so much different things. But if he talked about that, instead of mass deporting people, I think that would be better, because a lot of his policies that he talks about are great in idea formats. We're gonna tackle the immigration crisis. We're gonna tackle inflation, tackle cost of living, tackle this and that. We're gonna give you freedom. But then he doesn't talk about policy. But then they go and attack Kamala Harris for doing the same thing, or even giving some remnants of policy. But then they attack her.
I think there needs to be a fine line, because right now Trump.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch his rallies, and I've been watching him for a long, long time, he has his key points.
Yeah.
He'll say his key point, give a little thing on it, and then start to go off. And, he does his thing, and then he'll get back on. And then it kind of, it waves.
It's the weave.
And sometimes it can get too, and he does acknowledge the weave. He'll talk about
I do think it's gotten worse, though.
It has a little, yeah. But also, I think a lot of viewers, and I'll kind of... I'll transfer kind of to your side. I've seen a lot of people criticize Kamala for being too on script, if that's even a thing, but the same speech, which I get you need when you're doing so many. But what do you say to that?
Yes, I've always thought about that, because I'm the type of person that if I was up there, I've been practicing what I would say during a town hall, because I'm pretty good with off the cuff things. I get a little nervous and stuff, and I can see her nerves in there, but she's gotten better. But this was a big thing in her town hall in CNN that was a big takeaway. She goes and says, the reason why during interviews, I don't give concrete answers or things that are not specific or enough, that I don't talk about how did she explain it? She was saying oh, I don't do policies out of the whim like Donald Trump does. He talks about just this and that and that and this and that. She is very on script. The reason being is because she wants to look at the facts of everything and then make a judgment herself. So a lot of her policy, because it took a while for a policy to get out, she looked at it very strategically, and she looked at both sides of the argument, and she talked about that. And she was like, that's a big weakness of mine, because someone asked her what her biggest weakness was. And that's why people really do dislike her scriptedness. But the thing is, it's not because she's trying to be this robotic presidential candidate, doesn't care about people. It's because she really cares about making it right, putting forth promises that she actually can make and
So it's more of a thing where she doesn't want to say the wrong thing,
Yes.
type of thing.
Because she's also, whether people disagree with what I'm going to say or not, because she is a woman, a person of color, a woman in power in general, one of the first major women in politics in general since Hillary Clinton, and the first black woman to be on a presidential ticket nominated. I think she has a lot. She's a standard that's much higher than Donald Trump's because she's a new person on the scene as well.
I do know, who was it that talked about it? Was it Michelle?
Yeah.
That talked about that? Yeah.
And I think Michelle has been doing a great job because she does not like politics at all.
Yeah, I know. Everybody was like, oh, Michelle's going to run. I'm like, guys, she's not going to run.
She refused to even let Barack Obama run. Like
she did not want him to be president.
No. Like she was like, she was ready for him because they saw like, oh yeah, he's not going to win. Hillary Clinton's going to win. But then, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. But she would have been ecstatic. She even said that. And I was caught off guard because I was like, she was not supportive at the start. But she's doing her best and trying to campaign for Kamala Harris.
Obviously, Trump goes on his signature weaves.
Yeah.
That's been noted, that he's noted it, and SNL notes it.
Oh, yeah.
And then there is times, would you attribute, when she talks about how she almost doesn't want to say the wrong thing and looks at everything, would you attribute her word salad to being like that? Like she's trying to say the right words? Or do you think it's just like something that she does, kind of like Trump's weave?
Yeah, I think that's that. But people put so much hate on these candidates for how they talk.
Yeah. And
They're
it's not the
human
biggest
beings.
issue. Right.
If I was in that, I've known, like, in this podcast, I make word salads, I'm sure. Because that's just how I talk.
Me too.
Like,
I say I think a lot. So
it's all about, like, moving through the ladders of being a better public speaker.
Right.
She's a fresh new face. And it's not saying she's not qualified, but Donald Trump was not qualified at his time. It just takes a lot of give and take and trial and error to be a better public speaker. And there's only some people that are gifted. But, of course, she has word salads, but who doesn't? Donald Trump has word salads. But I feel like a lot of people have been really dehumanizing her. And it's just really disgraceful. Like, you can disagree with her policy, but, like, come on. Like, let the woman speak. Let the lady speak. She is a powerful woman, whether you like it or not. First female vice president, and she's running for president. Like, and she's put on a campaign in less than 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, come on, give her a break.
Do you think her being already, like, kind of breaking that barrier of being the first female as vice president, do you think that helps her, or does that not matter at all terms of running? Like, because people have already seen her in a position of power, or do you think that, like, it actually doesn't matter at all?
Gerald Ford, he's the only president who has never, ever been elected at all.
Yeah.
He said that his daughter endorsed Kamala recently. Put that out there. This is a fun fact. But he said that in order to get the first woman president, the male president would pick a female vice president, and he would die.
And die, yeah. I
So,
did see that.
But I think it's a little twisted, and I think it's more accurate now to say because she is in power, people are like, well, yeah, like, I guess if she's in power. But the thing is, people really dislike Biden, so they attribute her to Biden. But I don't really know. It could go either way. The thing is, in this election, there's so much ambiguity to it, and to figuring out why people are voting, why they support who, why don't they support whomever, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, some people are very misogynistic. They do not think that a woman has the ability because they're quote unquote too emotional. But come on, Donald Trump is too emotional himself.
Well, right. That's not. I've never liked that. Like, I would never believe. Yeah.
They're just emotional in their different forms.
Yeah. I also. Hold on. We'll keep going. But yeah. I think. Yeah. Whatever happens, I just hope that we can just keep moving on. One thing I said was, on Tuesday night,
Mm-hmm.
we're partisan. We're rooting for our person and
Yes.
rooting against the other.
Wednesday night.
But on Wednesday morning,
we're Americans.
we wake up as Americans. And I know that's what I'm going to do either way.
Yeah.
And I know
But the
my
problem
party
is,
doesn't.
your party. I mean, this happened in 2016. Some people in the Democratic Party were like, Donald Trump should not be president. We're going to object the certification. But people now have gotten much better with recognizing both sides that, like, shut up. It's American to accept your defeat.
And I think a large majority of Americans
No.
do believe
A
in that.
large majority of Americans, but Republicans, they are very concerned about election integrity. Not because they are ignorant. Not because they're like radical. It's because people in power are sowing the seeds for this fear, and they need to stop. Because we need to go back to a time where Donald Trump recognizes, he lost, but we're gonna fight like hell. Like, he can say that, but not have people go to a Capitol and then raid it. Like, you can dissect it and see if he instigated the riot. But the thing is if that riot wouldn't happen if there was just a concession speech. Look, we didn't win, but who knows what's going to happen next time.
Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways. We're going to come out on top. Boom. Done. Great. Wish Joe Biden luck. Transition. Go to the next president. Win in the next 4 years or next 8 years. Like, come on.
And that's the one thing that I do agree with my party overall.
Yeah.
I think that's one spot where I've always been like, dang, can we? Because I also, as a president and historic fanatic, has one of the things that I've loved is the transfer of power and how it all works and stuff. So that has been the one end where I have disagreed.
It's remarkable just in itself, like picking the cabinet and then talking with different congressional leaders. It's just a great American thing. But I think the reason why I don't support Donald Trump, for a big reason, is because I don't see an American. I see a Donald Trump.
That's fair.
And I think that's concerning. If he was just a normal Republican, like not sowing the seeds of like oh yeah, the election can be stolen, I would be like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But like, he's shown that he's unstable and hinged than ever before.
Do you think?
And sorry to go back, I'm never gonna support Donald Trump. I don't know. I worded it very wrong.
Do you think? Because obviously after this election cycle, it would be assumed either way, whether he wins or loses, that we will have a new Republican candidate. Do you think, from your side, do you think that the Republican Party has changed for the worse and we can't go back, or do you think we have?
I was thinking about the other day. That exact same thing. I think it's going to be 50-50. 50 want to stay in the Trumpian era, but then 50 want to just move on because they are tired of losing.
Yeah.
But the thing is I think that the loud minority is going to overtake the silent majority.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. So I was wondering what you thought.
I think that come the next few decades, there's going to be a rift in the political parties in general, and it's going to turn into a 3-4 party system.
Yeah.
Until something happens. And
because a lot of young people have been frustrated
with both,
and
including
they're like,
us.
Yeah, and they're like, I want another option, but it just hasn't been.
And I think a lot of people who are older are like, well, we've grown up with the 2-party system, but us, we're like, yeah, we've also grown up with a 2-party system, and there is lack of good health care. The economy's always struggling. People don't have good education. Immigration is still a problem. Housing. There's so much issues. Who's fixing it? Not Republican or Democrats fixing it.
And George Washington warned against it.
Oh,
so if we want to go based on the foundations.
That pisses me off, because I am not a Democrat for a Democrat, like, because I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat because you have to be in different political parties, of course, because that's just how our political system works. And I closely align myself with the Democratic Party because they have the same values. I value, in general, working together with people who have like-minded ideas and stuff. But it's the factions, which is like the rebellion, the hate, the divisiveness, the lack of compromise
Yeah.
that is now becoming from that typical party system that is eroding the very two-party system that we have known for quite some time. So if we went to a two-party system where we just had compromise and there wasn't tons of gridlock, I would support that, as a majority would. But we gotten to a point where nothing seems to work. So what's the next way? And we'll, of course, dissect this on other episodes.
We just got a lot to talk about because it's election
crazy.
season.
It is election season.
After
So,
election season, it'll calm down.
a few last things. We're going to watch the 2 campaign promotional ads and videos for both candidates, for you undecided voters or for individuals who just want to see the 2 different candidates.
Nothing worth doing ever came easy.
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation.
Never, ever quit. Never quit. Adversity makes you stronger. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedoms. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way.
When they couldn't beat him, they tried to bankrupt him.
President Trump is back in a New York City courtroom.
When that didn't work, they tried to put him in federal prison.
Raided by the FBI.
When that didn't work, they even tried to kill him.
They just tried to kill President Trump.
Donald Trump still stands, ready to fight, ready to win, and ready to make America great again.
This is Donald Trump's house, brother.
This election, we all get to choose. I'm going to choose real American leadership and a real American badass. The 45th and soon to be 47th President Donald J. Trump.
Starting on day 1, we will defeat inflation quickly and we will make America affordable again. I will cut your energy costs in half. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break. We are going to bring back the American dream, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. When I'm back in the White House, we will restore world peace, and it will be again peace through strength. I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. And we'll put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America.
We all salute the same great American flag. Our best days are yet to come.
Together, we will make America great again.
So, that's your quote-unquote candidate.
Yes.
So what's your thoughts, Luke?
I felt like I was about to watch a movie.
Yeah.
I think it sends a powerful message of this is what he's been running on for years. It reinforced that. I mean, it's a good looking ad, whether you're
100%.
like these policies are wrong for America or these policies are right for America.
He was able to make it.
It's a good looking ad that I felt like gave hope, I mean, showing we salute the same American flag, that's coming from a Republican standpoint.
Yeah.
I think, it's a good ad that sends home his message, and it's not going to be everybody's message, but it's his.
Coming from a Democratic perspective, I do think that it's a lot of it was hiding the fact that he was trying to revise history, like the criminal cases and stuff like that, and trying to make it seem like he's just this savior. He's this martyr for change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like he's trying to seem like this savior is going to save America because of this, and this is what he's going to do. And I think it's a powerful ad, but I think it's a powerful ad because of the music and the lighting and the clips and the way it was formatted, not because of him as a presidential candidate.
I think too, and you mentioned it seemed like he was running as the savior or whatever, and I think that is accurate description of
Yeah.
some of the things he feels. I've always said, you know, I am a Christian, that I'm not electing a savior, I'm electing a president. And so I
Yeah.
know a lot of people
There
don't
was
see it that way.
there was literally a comment that came up when we were watching it that said Jesus is king and Donald Trump is the chosen one, MAGA.
Yeah, I will not. Here's my thing with my faith.
Yeah.
A lot of my principles comes from my faith.
Yeah.
I do not. It's not effective for me to debate issues using my faith or twist a political party or politics to fit my faith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I won't do as a Christian. But I have to go with my principles that comes from that.
Yeah.
But I can't, because a lot of people don't.
Yeah, and there
the
is a
Bible.
sign that we have called "The Lord giveth, the government taketh away." It is a homage to the satirical nature that Luke and I probably have against this people who are like they're trying to mix their religion into government.
Yeah, yeah, and of course I'm gonna have my convictions. That's gonna
Like
make me
morals,
go
everyone
one
has
way.
morals, but like it's not the fact. Like the government and the Lord and like religion is not interconnected. It should not be interconnected.
And I will say one thing that I that comes from the Bible.
Yeah.
It says no matter who the leader is, you must respect your leaders.
Well, yeah.
And that is, but it's not happening a lot of times with
both sides.
Both sides. Like right now, I do not like the Biden-Harris administration personally, but I believe that I need to respect my leaders, and I know a lot of people believe that as well.
But then there's more people in the past few years who do not.
Yeah.
And also who do not love thy neighbor.
Right. They worship and idolize the party.
It's
But overall, I think coming from the Republican standpoint,
It's
those
okay.
are all the things that Republicans,
Yes.
policy-wise, in this election cycle, that's what's turning out the vote for the party, and those are the policies that has been the main focal point for the past couple of years.
Exactly. Okay, next ad is Kamala Harris's ad.
In America, we rise. We rise early. We rise late. We rise to every challenge because freedom demands more than just words. Freedom is the sound of steel striking steel, the hum of factory floors, the buzz of small-town diners opening at dawn. It's knowing that what you build belongs to you. But somewhere along the way, the balance shifted. Politicians started looking out for themselves and billionaires, while working Americans were left to bear the weight. This, though, this is where we draw the line. Because freedom isn't just for those at the top. It belongs to all of us. We believe in an America where dreams are built on hard work, where you have the opportunity not to just get by, but to get ahead. This is our chance to reclaim the dream, to restore the promise of freedom, not just for some, but for all. Because in America, we rise for everyone.
As Americans, we rise and fall together. I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to make your life better. And I pledge to be a president for all Americans. I offer a different path, and I ask for your vote.
All right, so Carson,
Yeah.
how do you feel about this ad?
It was good. As a I'm more of like a Bernie Sanders type, like small town, like rural Democrat. Like look out for the typical modern middle class folk. I do think that they kind of appeal to that. Talking about like the factory, the steel, the small town diner. It was great because you think of Democratic Party as this party for urban people, but it's actually a party for a lot of people in general and just normal people. I think that was a great ad.
Yeah.
It talked about how it kind of showed that Donald Trump kind of shifted that of this policy and how we just want to like lift each other up and create a better America and better world. But Donald Trump looked out for himself, and it went downhill from that. And now it's like a new way forward. That's her slogan, and to move to a new era of possibility of common sense solutions, stuff like that. So I really think it was a great, powerful ad, and I don't know, it's not going to change people's opinions per se because it's so close, but it is a great, powerful ad that encompasses the Harris Walls movement. But yeah, what's your thoughts?
I thought it was a great ad in the sense that it sang in the key of we. It was a lot of us togetherness, which I think is a good aspect. I definitely think that's going to appeal. The one thing, I would say about it is, and obviously it's an ad, so you're not going to get a lot of substance because it's an ad,
It was 2 minutes. I mean, that's the same thing with Donald Trump.
Right. You're not going to get a lot there, but
no.
I would say the one thing, I don't have anything wrong with the ad. I think it's a great ad for her.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump's was a good ad too.
Trump's was a good ad. And, this has been her thing for this election cycle, the past, 100-some days that she's been running. I think the big question for a lot of people is just how are we going to achieve that? And I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how she is going to achieve that
for Donald Trump stuff too.
Right. So,
but I think it's always look at the goals and the motives.
Yeah, and I think obviously both ads. It's not going to be like, oh wow,
like I'm not.
A million Americans changed their mind, but I think both ads.
I looked at Trump and I was like, yeah, that's a cool ad.
Both ads did a great job doing what they needed to do, and one thing I want to praise about Kamala's ad is it was a lot of togetherness, and I did appreciate that. I thought it was good.
And I think that's what her goal is.
Yeah.
Is this unity aspect, hoping that will stick.
Rather than I will fix it, it's we.
We are going to fix it. We are going to fix indirectly Biden's mistakes. We're going to fix Trump's mistakes, Obama's mistakes. We're going to fix the past and go forward to be a better place for our country and our children.
Yeah.
And I think both sides want that.
Yeah.
But we need to stop the hate and vitriol and suck it up, whatever happens Tuesday.
Absolutely. And both ads I really liked.
Yeah. So last thing is, before we talk about how to vote and what's on the ballot, we're going to have some important testimonials and some questions and comments, concerns, what be it, from our audience. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name's Kira, and the reason why I voted is because there are many pressing issues today that directly impact the world and minority communities. And I believe it is my right to make my voice heard and to encourage positive change in America. And I voted via mail-in ballot, and my question for Luke and Carson is, how do you think people can become more informed voters in an era of information overload? And do you believe social media posts have an impact on voting?
Let's start with thank you. Kira,
Yeah.
we are great to have your question and your testimonial on how you voted. Mail-in ballot is a safe, secure way, and it is a future mode of voting. A lot of people have different disagreements on that, and we'll discuss that in further episodes, but it is great to hear that you were able to vote, especially as a college student.
Yeah, and especially even as a college student, a young student,
18,
a lot of young people,
18, 19, 20.
A lot of young people aren't voting, don't like to vote just because they're like,
It's
both
a
sides.
lot of work, too.
It's a lot of work, and they don't want to, so it's great to hear, young people getting out to vote because the young people, we are the future of the country, and it's more important than ever to start deciding, where we're going to take it.
Exactly.
Kira's question was, how can we become more informed voters with all this information overload?
And probably disinformation.
And disinformation.
And just fear of all this chaos.
Yes. So what do you say to that first?
I think it's all about talking, like what we're doing now. and it's also about slowly informing yourself on a daily basis of news, but also fact checking. So what I do is definitely more adult-like compared to a lot of our generation. I have a New York Times subscription. I check daily updates. I listen to like a 5-minute daily news brief on Spotify before I go to class. It's those small little things that make a big difference. And also making sure that you get concrete information from trusted sources. A lot of information you're going to get from Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that. And it's also just stressful in general to get all this information and conflicting information, you know? So what would you say to people who are trying to compensate for all this information like overload that Kira brought up?
I would say sometimes it's as simple as putting your phone down.
Yeah.
Turning TikTok, Instagram off for a little bit and talking with real people.
Exactly.
What we're doing right now, because your feeds are catered to what you like.
Yeah.
Based on who you follow. Not everybody, but you're going to get all this information online on social media from the news.
Yeah.
And some of it might be true. A lot of it might be false. So it's just great to turn that all off and have these conversations where I can hear points from Carson and
that we
his
don't
side
hear
of the party
on,
that I that might be like, oh,
you don't hear on Fox News, you don't hear on MSNBC, two different, very politically polarized news outlets, which is another thing. You want to make sure that you can have your commentary, if you love CNN, like you love how they debate and stuff like that, but you want something that's non-biased, like NPR, AP, stuff like that.
And it's not easy. Like, trust me, because
no, it's not.
We do, in me as well. I want to hear the results that are going to make me happy and make me,
100%.
Oh, yes, that's what I want.
100%.
So it could just be easy for me as a Republican to turn on Fox News 24/7 and just feed me what I want to hear. Once in a while, maybe it's good to hear that, but it's so important to...
You need a variety.
Yeah, to find that middle ground, talk to people who have differences than you, and that is what we're aiming to do here.
Yeah, and get unbiased information, and we're going to try to be as unbiased as possible. And we ourselves are not going to be unbiased, but we are both two different political ideologies, if you will, two different viewpoints on America and its different socio-political economic system, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but,
it can be just as easy as turning off technology for a little bit.
It sounds scary. It sounds stupid. It sounds like a boomer would tell you, but in reality, it's the only way we can save ourselves from being encompassed to AI, and it takes away our humanity.
It's really important.
So thank you, Kira, for that great question, and we are so glad that you made an effort and voted, as it is your sacred American duty. Next question. Stella said, I voted because it's the first election that I'm old enough to vote, and I want to set the example for my family. I chose to vote in person because I want to get comfortable with my first time voting. Although I feel a little nervous because I'm going alone, I'm also excited to be the first person to vote in my family.
So we'll drive you.
Pretty much.
I think that's amazing.
I think it's amazing
to be the first to vote in your family. It can be scary walking into an unfamiliar spot. Voting.
100%.
That's scary.
With booths.
Never doing it before.
Never.
Taking that step to go in person.
And if your family has never done it, you've never really experienced voting.
I mean, I've grown up going to the polls with my mom and dad, so, I've seen it. But being the first time voting, that's really important because
100%.
We're gaining new voters.
Every year.
This will probably be the highest voter turnout
for youth
ever.
In quite some time,
And it's really cool, and it's just amazing to be the first one to vote in your family.
It's
and
you have nothing to be scared of. It's all about resources, making sure you get your resources, research what you should expect, where your polling location is, and talking just to people, how they voted, if they voted, and it's not a scary thing; it's an American thing.
And there's some good websites too where you
100%.
can find, because a lot of times we just think we're voting for president and that's it. But there's so much on our
There's
ballot.
like over 30 Senate races.
There's Senate
over
races.
40 governor races or 20 something.
There's referendums from our state.
There's over 150 referendums in localities and statewide across the United States.
And I know we have, 3 states?
We have 3. On Illinois, there's one on taxes, there's one on election security, and there's one on reproductive rights and healthcare.
So it's important to see where you stand on those.
Because they're more influential compared to a president. You know, people might not think that, but everything trickles down, and what trickles down faster? The federal government or the local government that's right by your home.
The policies are going to trickle down, and your vote is going to matter even more. It matters at every level.
Because when me and Luke are voting, and you're not, we have more of a say in how your taxes look in terms of property tax, how your schools look, how your roads look, how your home associations look if they exist. There's so much stuff.
That stuff at the local level comes down to 1,000, even less votes. You know, that is not a lot. It might sound like a lot, but it is not a lot of votes.
It's not a lot.
So your vote really matters.
It really does matter. So thank you so much, Estella. We are so glad to hear about that.
Go, Estella.
Go, Estella. We
have fun.
Faith in you. Have fun. You got this. This is a great election year to do such.
It's what makes this country great, that we can vote.
Next question. Well, you were saying makes this country great, and I was prepared you to stand up and start doing your fists in the air.
Oh,
make America great again.
No, I didn't even think about that.
No, but I did.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Our next testimonial is from Rylie from Missouri.
Hi, my name is Rylie. I voted last week for early voting in the beautiful Boone County, Missouri. I think voting is very important. It's our constitutional right, and it's how we get our voices heard. And it was my first time voting, so I was very lucky to be able to do so, and I felt very privileged. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Rylie.
Thank you.
Riley's actually our editor. She goes to the wonderful college of the University of Missouri. Mizzou. Anyways, so yeah, Rylie is a Illinoisan, and she voted in Boone County and around Columbia, Missouri. It's towards the center, I think. It has how many electoral votes, Luke?
Missouri has 10 electoral votes.
And why is that, Luke?
They have as many electoral votes as they have members in Congress. So that is their 8 U.S. representatives and their 2 senators.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
She's really excited. But yeah, thank you so much, Rylie. And we are so glad that you were able to vote. And some people don't vote because they go to college, but hopefully this changes.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys understand that you can vote even during primaries and even during local elections from college.
Please do.
Please do. Always reach out to us, and we'll be happy to guide you in the right direction to further information. Next question.
Hello, Carson and Luke and podcast. I would just like to say I voted. Yay.
Thank you so much, Audrey. That is just great information.
We, no matter
what happened in the voting booth, maybe you pooped your pants.
Maybe, maybe like me, I'm sitting in the voting booth. There's a lot to vote for. Not only am I eating, sometimes I nibble on my ballot. I get a little hungry. So.
Damn.
And honestly, those old ladies in my polling place always hype me up. So I could take a nibble.
Do.
I'll take a nibble, and they're like, "Yeah, nibble, nibble,
nibble, bitch, nibble."
They're like, "Nibble, you're amazing." I'm like,
"Nibble, you biggie." Yeah, so
like, thanks, Edith.
That's really Edith.
Edith.
I love Edith.
She wears Olivia. She wears a B pin.
So
there you go.
Really? Oh.
Well, good job, Audrey. We're proud of you.
Good job, Audrey. We love you so much for voting.
Thank you for sending in all your questions.
Thank you for sending all your questions, and we'll leave you with this. Make sure to go to iwillvote.com or vote.org. The biggest election things are on the local level, and I'm going to name off some policies that are going to be influential to make your decision if you haven't made your decision left, or what you want to discuss and learn about and message us and what you want to hear us talk about. So,
I'll talk about one thing that's been has been brought up ever since the biggest election 4 years ago, the mail-in ballots. I know people have had issues with those. I personally believe that all of the votes are. I believe that the system works.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem. I just personally like to go in person
100%.
and watch my vote go in the little machine because I think it's cool. But also because not that there's like rigging with the mail-ins, but mail can get lost and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's just with how it rolls. But you can check
there's
where it's at.
There's going to be in the future. There's going to be better procedures to make
Yeah.
mail-in voting better.
This is a newer idea.
It's because
so,
of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's important because a lot of states, including Washington, I know I have a friend who was in Washington and her mom mailed her ballot because everyone in Washington gets a mail-in ballot to vote. Which I was like, that's really cool.
And when you're at college and stuff, and you don't change your residency, you can't always get back. So
yeah. So another thing on the line, in terms of just policy, is healthcare. Healthcare access and affordability remain very much in focus. Luke really believes in minimizing government intervention,
Yes.
supporting like the supply aspect of healthcare, while I support more exploring universal healthcare options. So there's two different things. Kamala Harris does not believe in either. There's different ambiguity towards it, but these are just the ideas and how healthcare is a debate in general.
Because the traditional kind of Republican
And
mindset
the traditional Democrat progressive mindset,
smaller government, so
bigger government.
Just,
we'll talk about that.
We'll get into it later.
that. There's also education, funding and educational standards, resources, curriculum, student opportunities.
Now, can I say something on education?
Yeah.
This is one issue where I've talked with a lot of people. I am not what you would consider your traditional Republican when it comes to education.
Yeah.
I've grown up with teachers as parents and stuff, and I'm definitely more, what would you consider left-leaning on education? I don't even know what the right term is.
There really should not be left-leaning, right-leaning on education.
It's
right
not
or wrong.
politics, but there's a lot of things that get thrown around that I just am in the middle
it's
on.
because we both come from public school teachers.
Yeah, that's true. So I really back my public school guy.
100%. And then there's immigration. We've talked about this today. Pathway to citizenship, labor force, border security, stuff like that. Then, most importantly, social and civil rights, reproductive rights, abortion rights are a big, big contentious topic. LGBTQ protection, especially for trans youth. Voting rights, which you talked about, mail-in voting, stuff like that, voting integrity. Environmental policy, which we talked about in the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
How some are more anthropocentric, which they're more human-oriented rather than the environment. They support the economy more than the environment.
Yeah.
And then economic policy. Growth, inflation, financial stability, wages, job markets. And then ballot measures, including ones on school funding, local infrastructure, public safety, and healthcare access. So this is pretty much a lot of why people are voting and why it's important, because a lot of these issues, federal, state, local, they're all wrapped into one.
Yeah.
And I'll give you some data of what's going to be on people's ballots. 1 president.
1 vice president.
11 governor seats.
34 Senate seats.
And 435 House representative seats. Isn't that just amazing? And then
all of the
local,
representatives.
Local. And we'll leave you with this. You do not have to vote for any candidate on your ballot. You can just mark off one person and leave the ballot blank. Or you can leave it blank for all you care, which I don't know why, but
hey, at least you submitted
something.
But yeah, nobody can dictate how you choose to vote.
And no one can dictate who or why you vote, or if you vote at all. That's the beauty of America. Yeah. But we want you to vote, and no matter who you vote for, we really want you to make your voice heard, because in reality, voting is one of the greatest duties you can do as a citizen.
Yeah.
No matter if you are left-wing, right-wing, progressive, very left-wing, very right-wing, whatever it is, and we can get into that later. But the truth is, we're all American. We're all in this together. We all want what's best for our nation, our children, our future.
Yeah.
And that's why me and you are here today.
And I know you'll hear a lot of, this is the most important election of our lifetime.
It really is, though.
It is an important election, but also don't forget that every election is important.
Every
as well.
election is important in its own aspect.
In its own aspect. Yeah. But just get out and vote because...
Yes, because America...
We have
a
problem.